So hello everyone, welcome to the second class of computer knowledge for NABARD Grade A 2025. Students, today we are going to cover another very important topic for this examination, that is memory organization. Again, in this question, first we will cover the concept and then we will do 15 MCQs to understand this topic better. So, while we are covering the topic, I hope you are able to understand it very well. And while I'm attempting the MCQ, you will have to attempt the questions with me. And at the end of the video, you can write down your score, whatever you have scored originally, so that I can also understand how much you are able to understand this lecture. Okay, so let's begin the lecture. But before that, guys, since the notification is out and you still are having any doubt related to NABARD grade A examination, rather than looking for each and every doubt over internet, and because it will take a lot of time, okay, so what you can do here is you can download this one stop guidebook that will help you to prepare your strategy, that will help you with the syllabus, that will help you with everything, important topic, how to strategize the topics right now. And to download this guidebook for absolutely free, you will have to check out the description box, so do check it out. Now students, when we are talking about the memory organization, first of all let us understand what we are talking about. So computer memory is basically what holds data and instruction, because your computer, when you ask your computer to do 2 plus 1, so your computer need data, 2 3, these are data, and instruction to add the data. Okay, so this is instruction basically, and these two are data. Okay, so it need raw data, and what your computer will do, it will process it out into information. Basically raw data is not a usable form, okay, and information is usable form of data that we can utilize. Okay, now where the main thing or the main work of computer is to process the data. However, to process the data, it also need to store it, and whenever we are talking about the storage, memory comes in picture. Okay, so what happen in computer, so whatever data you want to store, information data, whatever you want to store over your computer, that will get stored in the cells. You can imagine the cells like that. They are not actually like that, but yes, to give you a visual picture, telling you that. Okay, so what happens, everything that your computer need to store will be stored in the cells, and these cells are basically form the whole memory of computer. Now how can we name those cells? So starting from very zero, okay, so let's see, there are 12, here we have 12 cells, right? So how do we name it? We start the naming from zero. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So naming goes from 0 to n minus 1. Okay, and total number of cell, that was 12, and minus 1, 12 minus 1, 11. So although the cells are totally 12, but since we are starting the naming from 0, not 1, 0, so the number will goes up to 11. Okay, n minus 1. Now how many types of memory do we have? So we first have register. Okay, now register, if you are talking about, register is not the part of memory organization, it's not the part of primary or secondary memory, it's actually the part of CPU. Okay, then we have the RAM, basically you can count it as RAM. In RAM we have SRAM and DRAM. SRAM forms cache memory and DRAM form main memory. Okay, then we have secondary memory. Okay, this is secondary memory. Now let us understand how everything works. Okay, so let's say you have your room. Okay, you have your room, and here you store everything, all your document, all your books, everything. Now when you are going out, okay, you will pick up 2 or 3 items. Okay, and when you start moving in your pocket, you will just keep the most important thing that you need to immediately use. Okay, similarly these memory work. So the house that you have, where you have everything stored, that you might need in future, that you might have needed in past, or that you might need right now, but everything is stored permanently in the house. So this house basically represent your secondary memory. secondary memory. Okay, now the most important thing that you have packed might be some books if you're going to the library. Okay, might be some clothes if you're going for hiking or something like that. So the things that you have packed in your bag, this is basically your primary memory. Now the things that you keep in your pocket for immediate use, that is basically your registers. Okay, let's say your car keys, you just need to open your car. So what do you need? Your car keys, so you will keep it there. You might need pen if you're writing down something, so what, where you will keep it? In your pocket. So your pocket is not the part of your house, it is not the part of your bag. Okay, although it is doing the storage, but it is part of your pants. So that pocket we have just talked about, that is basically like your CPU register. Now sometimes what happen, you often go out and you always eat chips. So what you will do, chips is something that cannot be fitted over your pants. So what you will do, your bag might have the side pocket, so you might keep the packet there so that you can reach out very easily whenever you want to eat. So that shortcut, okay, that because you always know कि, okay, I'm going to be hungry and I need to keep the packet where I can reach very easily. So that is basically your SRAM or your cache memory. Your cache memory is basically whatever activity you do again and again, again and again, that should be kept in a hand distance. So that is basically your cache memory. So I hope four types of memory through this example you are able to understand. Now let us learn in details what we have just talked and what are different features of different kind of memory. Okay, so first we have is register memory. Register memory, this memory is part of, again I would like to remind you, CPU. Whenever you ask your computer to do 2 plus 3 plus 1, okay, your computer will first do 2 plus 3 and it will say ki, okay, this is 5. This 5 is a temporary answer, but your computer also need to store it, otherwise it will not move to add 1. So this 5 will be stored in the register memory because your computer is currently processing this. Your CPU is currently processing this. So register memory mein these things will be kept. So that is why register memory, it's not the part of main memory, it's not the part of secondary memory, it is the part of CPU. Okay, central processing unit. Then this is the fastest memory and this is the smallest memory that we have. Okay, here you can also see when we talk about the hierarchy, as you go up, the memory capacity decreases. Okay, capacity decreases and speed increases. So your secondary memory has the largest capacity but the speed is the slowest. Okay, and that is why these memories are also the most economical or most cheap, so the cost is very low. If you are talking about the cost going up, okay, we are talking about in this sequence. So cost keep getting higher. Okay, your capacity will decrease, your speed will increase, the cost will also increase. Okay, so register memory is register memory, if you are talking about most expensive, fastest and the smallest memory that is. Now this memory also holds the data and instruction temporary because your CPU is not going to process everything forever. Okay, so that is why whenever your CPU is processing that data, that will be stored in the register memory, otherwise no. Similarly, if you're in your pocket, you will keep things only when you're going out or only when you need them immediately. Otherwise you will keep the things over your bag, you will keep the things over your house. Okay, next we have is cache memory. Cache memory is basically used the chips data that we have. Okay, so this is basically used for the frequently used data, the data that is used most. For that your computer will create shortcut and that is basically cache memory. Now this is basically your cache memory. If you are talking about, we usually use semiconductor material for that kind of memory, and it is the buffer between your CPU and main memory. Okay, it is not the part of CPU, kind of a part of a main memory, but yes, it's not actively, whenever a file is open, that will not be utilized in the cache memory, or that is not will be kept there. Cache memory mein only shortcuts will be created. Okay, now it also reduces time to access the data. Okay, since it's a fast memory, your computer don't need to look for the data again and again, it don't need to find the location, okay, which cell number it was, okay, where the instruction will be there, it no, okay, okay, This data I have used again and again, and this is in my side pocket. I can just pick it up. So that is cache memory. Then we have is primary memory. Now, see, cache memory and register memory, the points that we have discussed is more than enough. Primary memory may we have division over the RAM and ROM, that we need to understand very carefully for the examination. Primary memory, if we are talking about, this is basically the internal memory of the computer. Okay, this is directly accessible by CPU, and it is used to store the data temporary. That means, see, when your computer is using the data, when your computer is calculating 2 plus 3 plus 1, so right now the process is not going on, but you have given the command to the computer. So when the command is given, this will get loaded into the primary memory. Okay, and this memory, primary memory, if you are talking about, usually here we utilize the RAM. Okay, ROM mein dekho programs are loaded already, boot programming is there, but primary memory, when we are talking about, specifically we usually go for the RAM memory. And RAM memory, when we are talking about, there the data is volatile, that means the data will be stored temporarily. Now here you can see primary memory is divided into RAM and ROM. Very carefully understand what ROM means, what RAM means. Okay, RAM, if you are talking about, this is random access memory. R for random, okay, access memory. I hope this much is understandable and this much is clear to you. Again, full form you will have to keep repeating, you will have to remember those full form also. Now, this is the volatile memory. That means whenever you are working on the file, the data will get stored. But let's say before saving the file, the power gets shut down. So the data will not be saved permanently. It will be stored for a while and then it will be gone. You must have seen whenever we are working in Word file, we are working in PPT, we are making some changes. So for a while, when we have done the changes, it is visible to us. But let's say suddenly the power get down, okay, and or my computer or laptop gets shut down suddenly. So what will happen? All the data that I have worked on will be lost forever. Okay, and this is that is because the all the data for the while when the file was open, it was stored in the random access memory or the RAM. Okay, and since I have not saved in, it was not saved in the secondary memory, and if the power is cut, the data will be gone. Okay, so when you are running a program, at that time the data is stored in the RAM. Now it is faster than the secondary memory. Okay, then ROM, we have ROM is read only memory. ROM is read only memory. Now here understand, this is non-volatile data. Usually we understand that ki okay, even when the power will get down, this data will not be deleted. In fact, we also understand that it is not very easy to delete any data or to make any changes over the ROM. ROM is a kind of permanent data because here we store the program related to the booting. What is booting? You understand this word booting. Booting is basically related to shutting on your computer. Okay, when you turn your computer on, when your computer power get on, you are able to see window, you are able to see apps and these kind of thing. That is basically booting. Booting may what happen whenever you switch on your computer. In that we have the BIOS, okay, basic input output system. This BIOS that gets stored, then what happens, our computer run post on it. Okay, power on self test, power on self test. So it run the test. Basically, whenever we wake up, what do we do first? We get a little, we open our eyes and first then we check our body parts. Okay, okay, my legs are working, my hands are, I'm able to wake up my hand, I'm able to lift my head, these kind of thing. So computer will do the same. It will run the basically whenever I switch on my computer, it will run ki okay, do my hardware work or not, is my memory working or not, these kinds of thing it will test. So that is basically your post this is basically post test your computer is running. Okay, then afterwards basic input output system will start. This is basically firmware, your hardware will start working, and everything will get turned on, and afterwards your operating system get work. Okay, that is through boot record. Now all these things, the BIOS we are talking about, these things we are talking about, these the data related to these are stored in ROM. random read only memory. Okay, so if you want to switch on your computer, you want to load your window, you want to load your input output system, you want to load your primary memory, what do you need? You need to have a solid software in the ROM. Okay, and ROM should be permanent, otherwise what will happen today, if the ROM is working, you are able to turn your computer on. If tomorrow, let's say it is deleted due to any reason, you will not be able to shut on your computer. Okay, so this is basically work of RAM and ROM. I hope this is very, because I have broken it down to the very layman terms, so I hope you are able to understand this. Now, from the exam perspective, let's understand what's important in RAM. So RAM is basically of two types. It's dynamic RAM, we also call it DRAM. Okay, we also call it DRAM. And then we have static RAM. Static RAM we call it SRAM. Okay, DRAM, if we are talking about dynamic, dynamic means if something is going on again and again. So what is going on again and again? This type of RAM basically needs constant refreshing to store the data. That is why if the power is shut down, it will not get refreshed, the dynamic RAM will lose its data. Okay, so dynamic RAM need constant refreshing, and whenever we are working on our any file, we are actually using the DRAM. If I have opened this PPT and I'm writing things, so when I'm giving command in my input and I'm able to see the result over here, at that time the memory is registered in the register memory. Once I have written it, I have written E, so right now it is stored in the primary memory or the DRAM. Okay, once I have saved it, then only it will go to the secondary memory. All right, next we have is SRAM. SRAM is static RAM. Static means it doesn't need constant refreshing, not at all. That is why it stores the data in static form, and due to this reason it is used in the cache memory. Whenever you access any data again and again, again and again, again and again, so my computer do not want to process it again and again. So what it will do, it will create a shortcut for that. Okay, and that data will be stored over the SRAM. Alright, next we have is ROM, read only memory. This is of four types. First we have is MROM, masked ROM. So this type of ROM you cannot delete at all. Whatever is written there, whatever program we have there, that is permanent. Okay, you cannot rewrite it. So this is, it contains pre-programmed set of data and instruction. Data and instruction both are permanent in that case. Now we also have PROM. In programmable ROM, you can modify the data only once. Okay, once the data is programmed, you cannot refresh it again and again, again and again. But yes, for once you will get the chance and you can refresh it. Next we have is EPROM, erasable programmable ROM. Erasable means you can delete. So what you can delete? You can delete whatever data is written over the ROM by the help of UV light. Okay, that is why it is also known as ultraviolet erasable programmable ROM. You can also call it UV EEPROM. Okay, you can also call it that. Do not get confused if you see this over your questions in the exam. Now we also have EEPROM. What do we have? EEPROM. What is that? This is electrically erasable. Electrically erasable means whatever data you have up to 10,000 times. Yes, up to 10,000 times you can delete it one byte at a time using the electrical signals. So small signal, weak signals you can use to delete the data in the EEPROM, and you can rewrite it. How many times you can repeat it? 10,000 times. All these things are important for your examination. This much you will also have to remember for your exam. Okay, now coming to the secondary memory. In secondary memory we have auxiliary memory or external memory. These are just names. All right, this is the slowest over all the four memory that we have discussed. This is the slowest and the cheapest memory. All right, when we compare it to primary memory, in fact for that sake, when you compare it to cache or when you compare it to register memory also, one important thing that you need to understand is CPU never ever directly interact with the secondary memory. This never happen. Basically what happen, whenever you are working on something from secondary memory, First it will get uploaded into the primary memory, and then CPU will interact with the primary memory will interact with the CPU. Once the processing is done and you want to save it, you will save it from the primary memory. So primary memory interact with secondary memory interact with primary memory, CPU doesn't interact with the secondary memory. Okay. Secondary memory, if you're talking about, it can be internal also, it can be external also. Okay. If you're talking about the nature, it can be magnetic in nature, just like HDD. We also have the example of floppy disk. Okay. We also have the example of the Winchester disk. We also have the example of tape cassettes. Okay. All these are magnetic memory. It will have basically a magnetic component to it. Okay. And it will rotate again and again to run the data. So this is one modern magnetic device that we still use is the HDD. Okay. Then we have the optical devices. In optical devices we basically have disk, circular disk we have. You can take the example of CD, DVD. In fact, for that sake, Blu-ray too. Okay. Now these are the devices that basically run on the laser. Okay. And if you're talking about the Blu-ray, it run on the blue laser. Okay. So these basically have, again, optical component is there. They are using electromagnetic waves, basically in the light waves, and constant rotation is there to run the data or to store the data here. Now against these two we also have the flash, or we can call it solid state. Okay. Now here what happened, in the flash type of memory, any component is not moving. You can think of the pen drive. In pen drive nothing is rotating, nothing is moving. Simply you have a semiconductor device and you just connect it to your computer, you store the data, you copy paste the data, you delete the data, you modify the data, and then you can take it out. Okay. So this is basically your flash memory. SSD, pen drive, and memory card. All these are the example of the secondary memory and the flash type of memory. Okay. So I hope this much is very much clear to you. This is this was pretty easy. Okay. So there was nothing to panic here. Till now, very easy things are there. For NABARD grade A examination, memory organization is a very low hanging fruit. You don't need to think a lot. Just understand this once and you'll be able to score good here. Okay. Now a little bit of different memory we have is the virtual memory. What is virtual memory? Now what happens sometimes, your RAM is full. In your RAM you don't have any kind of memory left. So in this particular case what happened, you have the secondary memory, right? Okay. So what your computer do, certain section of secondary memory is kept aside, and this will act as the RAM. Okay. Certain part of secondary memory act as a act as a RAM, and this is called the virtual memory. Okay. Only when we don't have enough RAM it will exist, otherwise it will not exist. It is slower than the actual RAM, and it is managed by the operating system. Only these points you need to remember. Only in the case where we don't have RAM, some part of our hard disk act as a RAM. Okay. This is virtual memory. Important one we have is the cloud memory. Cloud memory is basically when you get connected to the internet and over a server you can save the data that you want to save. Okay. Over a server means some far away computer that has a huge capacity, your data can be stored, and through internet you can connect it to a server, you can store your own data, you can retrieve your own data from any device that you want. Okay. Now what are the advantages of cloud memory? So basically, first of all, remote server is there. Now we can access it from anywhere, any device. All right. We don't need to have a physical device. Till when we have talked about the RAM, we have talked about the uh, pen drives, SSDs. In every type of device we need to have some physical component. Okay. Here in cloud memory we don't need that. It will also act as a backup. If from your main computer, let's say if the file is deleted, you will always have the file stored over the cloud. Okay. It's scalable, you can increase the data to any capacity, and it's also secure. Okay. Then example for NABARD, you will also have to remember the example of the service. Okay. So we have Google Drive offered by Google, we have OneDrive offered by Microsoft, we have iCloud offered by Apple, we have Dropbox offered by the Dropbox Inc. We also have Amazon S3 offered by Amazon Web Services. Okay, so these are all the offerings that we are getting from various companies. For your example, you will also have to remember these names. That is also important. Now students, let's attempt some question to understand these concepts even better and also to test our own knowledge. Okay, so the very first question is, which of the following is the smallest type of memory in the computer system? Flash memory, cache memory, RAM memory, hard disk, or the optical disk. So we all know that the smallest type of memory that we have is the cache memory. Not cache memory, sorry, register memory. But register memory is not in the option. So we'll have to go for the second best option, and that is the cache memory. Okay. The next question is, which of the following are the characteristics that are true regarding the register memory? So related to register memory, you will have to explain, is it the fastest, smallest, not the part of the main memory, or temporarily hold the data? So you will have to find the combination that is correct. We have given some characteristic and combination you will have to find. So here the correct answer will be option D. That is, all the statement given here are correct. Okay. Now, which of the following is volatile memory? So you will have to tell volatile memory. That means the data will be stored temporarily. In which type of file that happens? ROM, flash, RAM, SSD, or the cache memory? The correct answer here will be option C. Okay, the RAM. See, because in the cache also static memory is there, constant refreshing is not required. As long as you're storing the data, it will not be volatile. However, in RAM, what happen? If you're working on the file, it is stored. If file is gone, data will be gone. Okay, power is gone, not file. The power is gone, data will be gone. Now, which of the following is true regarding the primary memory in the computer system? Okay, which of the following is true regarding the, okay, which is the truly, basically you will have to tell which is truly the primary memory or in the computer system. Okay, so there seems to be some problem in this question. We'll skip it. Alright. Now, which of the following is a type of RAM that need to be constantly refreshed to retain its data? So again, I have also given you the shortcut or the trick. From the name itself you can understand, is it static, dynamic, cache, synchronous, or none of the above? So here the correct answer, again I have told you, constant refreshing means dynamic process need to be done, and option B will be the correct answer. Now, which of the following statement is true about a type of ROM that can be electrically erased and reprogrammed? So you will have to tell which type of ROM it was where electrical signal can reprogram it. Okay, so PROM, EEPROM, EEPROM, ROM, or DRAM. So if you remember the full forms, that I have explained to you, you will be easily able to understand that yes, the correct answer will be option C. That is EEPROM, electrically erased PROM. Okay, then which of the following statement best describes the role and characteristics of secondary memory in modern computer system? Secondary memory, you will have to read all these terms. Secondary memory, although non-volatile, is faster than the primary memory. Okay, here you can easily tell ki secondary memory, it is non-volatile, but it is not faster. Actually, it is slowest. Okay, secondary memory is a non-volatile storage medium used primarily for the permanent storage, offering the large storage capacity. Okay, seems like fine option. Let's go to the next option. Secondary memory like RAM stores the data temporarily. So we all know RAM is the part of the primary memory. So we can cut it out here. Okay. Secondary memory is used exclusively for the booting purpose. Of course not. Only ROM is used for the booting purpose. So the correct answer here will be option B. Okay. Next is, BIOS is stored in which of the following? RAM, cache, CPU, HDD, or ROM? The correct answer here will be option E. In ROM we have the BIOS setting. BIOS is basically for the booting. I have explained it to you. For booting we have BIOS. For booting we also have post. Okay. Then, how many times prompts can be programmed? Only once, only twice, unlimited times, never, 100 times. So the correct answer here will be only once. Programmable ROMs can be programmed only once. Okay. Next, which of the following feature of computer does cache memory improves? Okay. Booting speed, internet speed, daily clarity, display clarity, file transfer only, or the CPU processing speed? The correct answer will be option E, because what happened here, the cache memory, it will not utilize the processing speed into opening the data. It had created the shortcut, it will easily, without processing, it will open it. So what it is improving, it is improving the CPU processing speed, because CPU need to spend less time overlooking ki, okay, which file need to be opened, where it is that file, that kind of thing. All right. Now virtual memory increases which of the following: actual RAM, logical RAM, permanently installed RAM, GPU, or none of the above. So we all know in virtual memory, when the RAM is less, the hard disk is working as a RAM. So actual RAM is not getting increases. Installed RAM. Permanently installed RAM is not hard disk. So C option is also wrong. GPU memory we have not talked about. The correct answer will be option B, that is logical RAM. Okay. Secondary memory is dash than primary memory. Faster, more volatile, smaller, or slower. The correct answer will be slower. Secondary memory is slower. Okay. Then which of the following type of memory can store the largest amount of data? HDD, RAM, ROM, cache, and register. So we all know, among all those, the secondary memory has the highest capacity. So the only example of secondary memory here is the HDD. So option A will be the correct answer. Next, EEPROM program and erase electrically dash times in 4 to 10 ms at 1 byte per second. Okay, so you will have to tell how many times we can delete or erase the data from EEPROM. The correct answer here will be option E, that is 10,000 times the process can be done. Last question. Storage is stored in dash. So you'll have to tell ki where do the actual data in the cloud store is stored. Local hard disk, RAM, remote server, cache, or BIOS. The very first line I told you about the cloud storage was the data will be stored in the remote server. So option C will be the correct answer. Student, with this we have covered this topic. I hope you are able to understand this topic very well. Now, if you're looking for some quality course to prepare for your NABARD grade examination, so we have the test series for both phase 1 and phase 2, where you will get solve PYQs, chapter wise test, sectional test, and full length test to analyze your preparation. But if you don't know anything about any syllabus, rather than questions, you want to go for the content. So our live crash course is up and running. So I would request you check it out. Here you will get daily live classes, solve PYQs, chapter wise test, and full length test to not only prepare but also to test yourself. Okay. So you can go for these courses, you can see the coupon codes here, you can go for these courses and you can buy them very easily. Just click on the buy now, and then you'll be able to avail those courses, and you'll be able to buy and run the coupon on it. Okay. So student, coming back, thank you so much. I hope you will prepare well. If you guys have any doubt, feel free to ask that in the comment box or the comment section. And now, if you guys have any doubt related to this topic, do ask it. Beside this, students, do let me know your score so that I am able to understand how much you are able to understand this topic. Thank you so much.